like to welcome you to Boy Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to Boy Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Evolve Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty.
Well, welcome to Boy Meets Wellness, Clarissa. You know, I was just talking to someone about you. I feel like you are the summit queen, if I could coin you as a name.
Yeah, I love doing them.
Yeah, but I think they are things that are very intimidating for business owners. And I think that you're also like the Oprah of it, right? Like folks who are really good interviewers, I love to bring them on this show. Because if you're a really good interviewer, it means you're a really good storyteller. That's what I end up finding. So,
thank you so much for that.
No problem. So welcome. So as we get started, can you tell the folks, a little bit about who you are and what brings you joy?
Oh, I love that question, Evolve. So I'll share a little bit about myself. And I've been on this planet for 50 years. So I'm not going to take you through all those decades. But what rings true for me, how about if we do that? What really brings me joy is art, is painting. And that is something that has been a solid part of my identity ever since I was 5.
Oh, wow.
And the other piece that I also really resonated with at a very young age was just this love for helping others be seen, be heard, and to realize their potential. And so those two threads of my life have just kind of played a part in the jobs that I had. I was a former graphic designer. I was also an internal leadership development coach and trainer, facilitator, and all of that. But I also knew that one day, someday, I wanted to work for myself because that creative in me honestly doesn't like to be told where to be at what time and, be scheduled so much. And so I finally ventured out on my own last year to start my own company, Clarissa Ramsey Studio. And really, that is truly what brings me joy. I really feel like I'm doing all the things that I was put here on this earth to do.
That's so beautiful. And I love that you said you don't like those restrictions, because I find, artists, right, even thinking about paint and the fluidity of that, who wants all of that structure when you really can have so much more creative and so much more wealth when you're able to move that forward. So do me a favor. Is that painting behind you one of yours?
Yes, it is.
Nice. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I was on another podcast interview with another artist, and they had the art in the back. And I was like, that's just a great shameless plug to have your own art in the background.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you mentioned you've been doing this since you were 5 years old. Tell us a little bit about that journey, right? Like, was it that who gave you your first brush? Who told you that, art was the thing, or did you kind of navigate it to it on your own?
Yeah, great question. So I think for me, at a very young age, I was put in school, like preschool, and I just loved art classes. And I was in a school where it was Montessori. I don't even know if that kind of school exists still, but it was really just a little bit of a free-for-all. And as a kid, you got to kind of gravitate to different things and gravitate to the things that really drew you in. And so I loved all the art classes. And so I'm sure I told my mom that, and she bought me an easel. I had a little beret. I had a smock. I had my pencils and my paintbrushes. And so I really just loved art. But then one day, my mom asked me, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I told her, I want to be an artist. In my head, I'm like, this is my jam. And my parents came to the United States from the Philippines. They're both doctors. And so my mom said to me, oh, child, you're going to be rich and famous after you pass away, like Pablo Picasso. So maybe you need to pick something else. And I just remember feeling as a little kid, a little bit deflated and a little bit like, oh, maybe I don't really know what's best for me. And so the creative side to me was there. and sometimes it would come out, but a lot of times after I had that conversation, I kind of kept it to the side.
Mm.
Yeah. And it really wasn't, and I would paint here and there, but not like I did as a child. And it really wasn't until I moved to California from Boston, and I went to this church called Agape International, right?
Shouts out to
Spiritual
Reverend
Center.
Michael.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Shouts out to Michael, Reverend Michael and
Mhm.
Razuli, who at that time was the artist, and his artwork was just everywhere. And I got to do a little bit of training under him and with him, did art retreats, and that really brought back my creative juices.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful that, you were allowed to get back to it. I think when we're younger, we do express that love for art. And, I often say when parents do that, it's a form of protection.
Oh,
because, right, they've seen probably others in their life who've tried to commit to art and haven't been successful, and they see the struggle in it. They don't want struggle for us. They want it to be success. They want us to have ease. They want us to have abundance. So I'm so happy that you were able to return to it, because you're an amazing artist, right? So I often say, Clarissa, when folks are born obviously incredible, and you're on this show, so we consider you that, there's always a team of people, right, that really have supported them. So if you had a gratitude list for today, who would be the top 3 people that you would thank and have gratitude for?
Oh my gosh. These are so good, these questions. I have gratitude for so many people. I would definitely say my grandmother, who I was really close to, who really taught me about wellness, actually, and yoga. She was my first exposure to yoga, to meditating. So definitely her. And definitely, I will say, I'm going to lump this, so I'm kind of cheating. People like you, who I have worked with, people like Christine McAllister, Christina Jandali, Kathy Heller, James Wedmore, people who I have participated in their programs to help me as an aspiring entrepreneur. And also gratitude for my husband, who is the devil's advocate. So he likes to also keep me in check in a good way. So I'm going to say those people.
Definitely. I'm so happy that you included, your coaches, right? The folks that you've worked with, because I think that I remember the first time I was thinking about speaking for profit and starting a business. I thought it could be an online course. I thought it could be one-on-one training. I had all these ideas, and really what I felt is like the coaches that I've met along the way have really planted seeds of easefulness for me. So I don't have to make the same mistakes that they have, but also it's been just really great relationships, because sometimes being an entrepreneur, it can be really lonely, right? Like I was talking to an entrepreneur recently, and they were like, I just miss having coworkers, right? Like I don't miss going to work. I don't miss the 9 to 5 in the hustle, but I do miss like hanging out in the breakout room. I do miss being able to have the gossip and the conversation.
Right.
But so I think when we have like our coaches, we have our colleagues, that's what I consider, right? Like in this business, then we have a way to not feel lonely and not feel like we don't have anyone who's there on that journey with us.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely.
For sure.
So tell me, right? Like you started this entrepreneur journey a year ago. What made you really want to particularly work on summits, right? Because, there's so many people that do events, they do online summits, they do retreats. And I come from higher education. So I feel like I'm like kind of like an event guru. I can do it.
Yes.
It doesn't stress me out. But for other people, I think they forget a lot of the checks and balances. So tell us a little bit about why did you think, summits, and what are maybe 2 or 3 tips you can give for folks who are thinking about doing these type of virtual events?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thanks for asking. And I think for me, like I knew of so many other ways to connect with people, like through Facebook groups, through just different networking events. And it really wasn't until I was exposed to this type of, I'm just going to call it like it's a great way to network to audience build, because that's really also what it can do for you. And I think and to be honest, Evolve, I didn't know that I was going to love summits at the beginning, because I will tell you in a little bit, yes, it is work, my friends. It is work. It's worth it. but it's work. I think because I love interviewing people, I love connecting with people. And in my grad school days for my dissertation, I did a dissertation on coaching, internal coaching programs in organizations. And I interviewed like C-suite people from companies that you would know. I can't say their names, but you would know all of that. And so I think I kind of just harkened back to those times. And I really just had so much fun doing it despite the work. And I will say this as a tip right now, hire a VA. Have somebody help you do it so you are not doing it all on your own. I promise you, you will make the money back from getting help doing it. But I really think also for some, it's my first one. I'll be honest. I was like, okay, I've never done this before. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but I'm willing to do the work. And I keep saying this, but I had so much fun interviewing. I had so much fun stretching myself to do something that I have never done before. And it was, I think the very first summit I did, I had like an email list. Let's talk a little bit about that, of like maybe 50 people who were like friends and family, maybe people who had, taken a workshop from me like years ago. But this was like an immediate audience build also. And I think I ended up with like about 600 people, like just like that, which,
wow. Well, you went from 50 to 600 in your first event. That's really powerful.
I think that was the first one. And also I did that event for myself too, so I could learn, because I was that person. So for those of you who are listening, I have a signature summit called From Employee to Creative Entrepreneur. Evolve has been on the show. Yes. And I really did it at first to help myself, to understand nuances, things that I could do to help navigate that transition. And I just love the topic. And now, fast forward a year, these are really the people that I'm working with, are the creatives who are in a 9-to-5. Maybe you're an artist, a designer, a maker, a writer, and you're like, this ain't for me. And you want to transition into something else. So that is what I really help my clients do. And by doing these summits, it's also a way for me to possibly connect with people who are my ideal clients. So these are all the little benefits that can happen when you put a summit together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? Well, I remember when you asked me to do it, I was very nervous because the name summit itself, it sounds a little intimidating. It's kind of like, wait a minute, right? Like, how many people are going to be here? What's happening? But I remember getting on the interview with you and it being so easeful. And so, just like, this is not a big deal. We're going to have a conversation. It's going to be so much fun. And I think that the way that you do it makes it fun, right? And I think it's so important for business owners. If you all are taking notes, I hope y'all are. I hope you got your notepad out, that we really write down, to have that post-event time to write down the joy that we had in the moment, right? Because I find that if we're able to align our zone of genius with our joy factor, that's our powerhouse. That's the space we can go back to over and over again and do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's stressed out. And I love that you mentioned the art of delegating, right? Because I think that a lot of entrepreneurs will just try to put some kind of big thing with 600,000-700,000 people by themselves. And they're like, well, it's just virtual. It's not in person. It'll be really easy. But there's so much that goes into it, from the messaging to interviewing your talent, to getting people there, to the follow-up. So what are some challenges of putting on that type of event? You mentioned some of the like benefits and the celebrations, but what are some challenges that we should think about? And your event, right, is usually a few days. It's not just a one-day summit.
Right. It's 5 days. It's typically 5 days. Yeah. So some challenges, I would say, not giving yourself enough lead time to really plan it out and get the speakers that you want, because I'll fully admit I'm running a little bit behind on my fall summit at the time of this recording. It's fall. And people need that time. Speakers need that time. They've got busy lives. And, we all do. The people that I'm looking for have businesses. So I would say if you are considering putting a summit together, especially your first one, I'm just going to say give yourself 3 to 4 months to really figure out who would you love to bring on stage, and don't hold yourself back. I mean, I reached out to, pretty much short of Oprah, I reached out to everybody. You never know, but give yourself that time to reach out, do the outreach, and just know that if people say no, don't take it personally. A lot of people also want to be paid, and full disclosure, this is a non-paid event for my speakers. I gift them the whole series, their interview, and definitely help promoting their platforms on mine because we've worked together, but it is non-paid. So that may be a little bit of a challenge also in getting people to say yes. I know some people allot time to do non-paid events. So if you can get your speakers to do, participate in that, that's great. And the tech stuff, I will say, like you said, Evolve, don't be doing all of it yourself. Delegate out, because at first I was like, oh, maybe I could. Nope. I am not the tech person. Oh my gosh. No. Thank God for my assistant, my project manager for my summit, Jenny. I just give her the interview. She does her magic. And so that's what I would say for you. You will make the money back. Mm-hmm. And so maybe I'll talk a little bit about, maybe you're wondering, well, how do you make money off of a summit?
Yep, because I was going to ask you that question.
Because it's a free event, right?
Exactly.
It's a free event. Well, maybe you can relate to this. I know I can. I sign up for certain things that look really interesting to me. But if something comes up on my schedule and I can't make that event, I'll buy a pass so that I can get back to it later on. And so even though the event is free for 5 days, if or if you're that type of person who's like, you know what, I want to come back to this interview, or, ooh, I'm not going to be able to see this speaker, but I really am interested in what they have to say. So you can sell a VIP pass. And that is how, on the front end, that you can earn money, you can monetize off of your summit.
Nice. And the VIP pass would include a replay access, lifetime access type of thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. You'll get, you get taken to a member area. You can pick out the speaker that you want to listen to. You can see what their social links are, their free gift. All of my speakers on my summit offer some kind of free gift for the audience. So you'll have all of that at your fingertips.
That's really cool. That's really cool. You giving pro tips over here. I really hope folks are taking notes, because I think that a lot of people do free events and they do it without strategy, to be honest with you, Clarissa. They see a lot of things on the front end, right? They're like, oh, someone did a free masterclass, someone did a free this, and then they just do it for free, but they don't have any intention on the front end on how they're going to make money, or even on the back end, right, on how they really move that warm audience into potentially being clients. So I often tell some of my clients that I'm working with, don't just look at the advertising and the marketing, really deep dive into the strategy, right? Because the people who are doing these free events, they're not just doing it because they want to give. And some people do, don't get me wrong. They want to give love, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. People do want to get compensated back, even if it's not financially, by the energy. And like you said, it's audience building. It's the ability to build relationships with other entrepreneurs. And then eventually it is something that can monetize, especially I imagine if you have a larger audience, right? You move from 50 to 600. And I don't know, how large is your email list now from the summits?
Now I'm at 3,000.
See, exactly. Right. So every time you do it, right, it's that push and you get a little bit more. Peace, family. I want to give you a gift. The guided meditation for wealth is an opportunity for you to start building wealth and growing your income and having a better relationship with money. When I put this meditation together, I was struggling. I was really sitting in some scarcity. And to be honest with you, That still happens to me to this day. This meditation gives you an opportunity to practice and break through that every day. It also gives you an opportunity to move past some of the negative thoughts that you might have around abundance and money. So I'm going to leave the link to this in the show notes or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, so that you can get into the guided meditation for wealth for free. I want you to listen to this at least twice a day and give yourself an opportunity to build a better relationship with money. So when you are speaking to entrepreneurs about coming in and doing something for free, any tips you want to give folks on strategies on how to pitch that really lands with people to kind of move them forward? Because I know even for me, like podcasting, you're here for free, right? And some people will send me a message and they say, I charge for podcasting. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, boo. Like, I don't have a budget for that at this point. Like, there's a lot more that goes out in a podcast than actually comes in, at least on the front end.
Absolutely. And so whenever I'm talking to entrepreneurs, I always want to make it, and this goes for everything. Like, what's in it for them? What could they possibly get out of being on the summit? And for me, I like to not have more than one speaker talking about a certain topic. Like I remember for you came on board and you talked about taking your artwork and expanding that. What else can you do to monetize? And there was nobody else talking about that. And so I really want them, I want to highlight them as the speaker, the expert, the guru on this topic. And it is also an opportunity for the speaker to be exposed to, let's just say, like on the conservative side, like 60,000 to 100,000 plus potential audience based on everybody promoting the event to their list, on social media, to their email list, and all of that. And so that is also a great benefit to the speakers. And something new that I'm doing now is having a meet and greet. So a meet and greet before the summit starts, to have all of the speakers meeting each other and giving them the opportunity to share what they do. And it's so funny because ever since I started doing this, the speakers were like, oh, I could use your services. Oh, I think I know somebody who might need you. And it's just a great way to be a collective, to lift each other up and share each other's messages and put people together that maybe, aren't exposed to, like if you're, I don't know, I'm going to make this up right now. Maybe your whole business is Instagram. Maybe you've never thought about Pinterest, or maybe you've never thought about something else. And here you are getting to meet other people with other specialties, and you never know what could happen out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And you just never know who you can end up building with, right?
Yes.
Which I think is a really cool thing. Like, there's people that I've met at free events that still to this day are people that I have accountability meetings with, like little coffee meetings with once a quarter. So I think that what you're mentioning gives us that space that we talked about kind of like in the beginning of the interview, right? Where entrepreneurs don't have that break room, right? Like, or that space to really socialize, but it really gives them that space. So one of the other powerhouses that you are good at is really creating ease for creatives or entrepreneurs to leave their 9-to-5 and go into business. So I want to ask you this question. It's a little loaded, right? But I think that it needs to be asked, right? We're in this economy where things are scary for people, right? I mean, for some people, it's not even that they want to leave. They're being told they have to leave, right? I was talking to someone recently who got a job with Snap, and Snap ended up laying them off after they've only been there for maybe 9 months, right? And they moved all the way to New York from, I think, California to take the job. And now they're on the adventure of trying to figure out like what's next. So what would you say to the folks right now to be able to do that in an easeful way, for if you want to do it, but even if it's like you're kind of like pushed to do it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I know, and that's like a hard space to be in, because that can automatically bring up that, oh my gosh, like feelings of anxiety.
Yeah. And scarcity too, right?
Scarcity. Yes. And what I want to say to that, and again, this is going to be easier said than done. So just recognize that. And I always like to tell people, acknowledge what you're feeling. Don't necessarily just shove it down, but just feel the feels. And if you're angry, like in a quiet place where nobody else is, punch a pillow, like get your emotions out. Don't let it like fester inside of you, and just get it out. And then that will really help you create some space to get quiet. And what I love to tell people is, like dream a little bit, give yourself that space to dream a little bit of, okay, so I'm here. And this actually happened to one of my girlfriends. She didn't think she was going to be let go, and she got let go of a job, and she was calling me for advice. And my very first thing to her was, okay, it's time to like regroup, break out your notepad, get quiet, and really think about all the things that you have loved doing in any of your 9-to-5s. And let's just start there, because I think whenever you start off with in that kind of a mindset, like if you need to go outside and take a walk first, take a walk, just do whatever you need to do to get grounded, do child's pose, just get grounded. And I think starting out by giving yourself permission to dream a little bit and really ask yourself, well, what is it that I could do next? What would be fun for me? Where are my strengths? And also, who do you know? Like, who do you know that you can just connect with and just say, hey, you know what? I'm really thinking I might want to try and pivot in this direction. Can you help me? And this is also advice that I learned from the podcaster Jordan Harbinger, which is dig the well before you're ready. So right now, it's the concept of who is on your phone that you have not connected with. Scroll down to the bottom. Maybe you kind of forgot about that person, and just in an authentic way. Like I want to say that too. Reconnect with people. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them what's going on, so that if you ever find yourself in a position where, things have shifted, you've got a network, you've got some community that you can always lean into as well.
So beautiful. I love that you mentioned that, punch the pillow, get the tension out.
Yes.
Because I think that so many people try to go into problem solve mode so quickly. Mm-hmm. And they don't really let some of that healing happen, right? Because when we lose a job, or even when we decide for ourselves, this is not the space for me anymore, there's a sense of mourning that happens in our bodies, in our spirits, right? And we need to let that go, so that when we do call in that new thing, the energy is actually renewed, right? Because if we just go in with that same negative energy, or as I call it, negative Nancy, that's what's going to come from our business. That's what's going to come from our next job. That's going to be the same energy that is there. So I really appreciate that. So you work with creatives and entrepreneurs to be able to do that in your program, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that process, right? Like if an entrepreneur or creative is listening right now and they're like, I like Clarissa, right? Like this sounds like someone I want to work with. What are some of the things, what are the pillars of your program, and how do you support people with that transition?
Right. And so for me, I primarily work with people who are still in a 9-to-5, but they know that this ain't it for me. And so really, I use a 5-step framework. It's my Painting Your Path framework. Happy to share it here. Steal it, use it. And in step 1, we've already talked about evolve, which is dream. Give yourself that space, create a vision for yourself. And even if I think sometimes that can be intimidating too. Oh, I don't know what my vision is. Well, what would be fun? What would be exciting? How about just starting there? What would be a nice little adventure for you to explore? How about that? Maybe it's a creative project. Maybe you're not necessarily thinking about doing a full-scale business planning thing yet, but have some kind of vision for yourself. And then after you do a little bit of that dream work, step 2 is decide. And this is where we can get wishy-washy. That's what happened to me. It took me 10 years to really leave, because I didn't fully step into my decision. I was so busy, like tiptoeing around, well, what if? And I would experiment kind of like not all in. So step 2 is really decide, okay, you know what? I know that the 9 to 5 is not for me. I'm going to decide I'm going to venture out. And that's if you want to venture out. You don't have to, but like for the people that I work with, they want to venture out. And then step 3 is all about putting a plan together. And again, granted, we're in a funky time now, but if you're in a 9 to 5 and you've got a pretty stable job, then it's time to plan. So while you're in a 9 to 5, it's the best time for you to also invest in your business, put money away. And really, I help my clients create that exit plan. So I have some clients who are like, I'm not ready yet to leave yet. And so we got a 3-year plan going for them. Other people, it's more like a 1-year plan. And what I tell people is even if you are like 3 to 4 years out, do the plan, save the money, take stock. We'll start your creative ideas now and put money away that you monetize from them so that you have a nest egg when you do leave. Because I think and again, that's if you're finding yourself laid off, it's a little bit different, but just know that you can rebound from that. I have definitely been let go of jobs and wondering, what's next? And I somehow figured it out. But anyway, so planning is step 3. And step 4 is being brave. So with that, I also help my clients think of a way that they could monetize their creativity. So maybe it's teaching. Maybe it's putting an online course together. Maybe it's actually coaching people in some other aspect of their life that they're really passionate about. But it's time to be brave and test the waters, put it out there. And then step 5 is reflect. So every time you do some kind of a launch, you do some kind of event, it's time to step back and take inventory of what worked and what would you do differently. If one thing, and don't try and change 10 things, but maybe what's one thing you could do, and then repeat, and refine.
I love it. I love that framework. And I love it because it gives people pace, right? And it gives what you talked about in the beginning of the interview, that fluidity, right? That we need as artists, as creatives, to be able to kind of feel comfortable. The easefulness, right, really is in that nest egg and that opportunity for you to make the decision on when you are making the decision, but to actually make it, right? Because so many people kind of like go back and forth. And I know I've even struggled with that in my life. Like, do I stay at my 9 to 5? Do I leave? It gets really easeful and you're like, well, I could do this and I can do my business. But then we realize the stress and the anxiety that can come from some of those jobs. I was thinking about my wife. My wife left her 9 to 5, I think about a year and a half ago now. And it was not a good environment. I remember having a conversation with her like, babe, you are not a nice person when you're at that place. I don't want you there anymore. Right. And she made the decision to leave. And literally 2 weeks after she left, she got an opportunity that was triple the amount that she was paying. Right. So I always say sometimes when we're sticking there and staying, we're also holding up some of our abundance or a door that might be open. Right. We're keeping ourselves in a room that's tight and uncomfortable and we don't know what's outside. And the fear keeps us in it because we know this room. We know even though it's a scary room and it's intimidating and it's whatever. We know it. We've been here. We've done it. But what's outside, we don't know. So we get really scared. So why not give yourself that chance? Give yourself that opportunity to see what's on the other side of the door. And I love the work that you're doing. So let's talk about wins. What are some wins that some of your clients have had recently?
Well, some are just definitely leaving. So actually doing it.
So you're a part of this great resignation that everyone keeps talking about. You're the one who's making this happen at the masses.
Yes. So, and I recently did an interview with my client who left. And it's just so funny. Every time I see her on Instagram, she's got like a grant check that she's like holding up. She's working with ideal clients that were like on her dream board. And also another client of mine, for him, he really wanted to publish a book. That was just like a creative project that he wanted to do. And I was so happy to see on Facebook that he did it. And then I have another client who was just really didn't know how she was going to monetize her artwork, her passions, and really came from a background of, not so much support, or you're not being realistic, or blah, blah, blah. Right. And she got evidence after working in the group program. She's like, oh my God, I sold this, I sold this higher ticket piece. And she started teaching. She started doing classes and making money from doing that as well. And so slowly but surely, people are realizing just how powerful they truly are by taking that step, by being brave, by getting out of that, this is all that I know. And also something else that I teach in my programs is, and what I love about your podcast, is about wellness. And so self-care for me, I'm a Taurus, I'm an earth sign. So self-care and being grounded is so, so important for me. And that is something that I talk about with my clients as much as the growth mindset, because I don't know if you agree with this, Evolve, or not, but this journey to entrepreneurship is like 90% mindset, honestly.
Yeah.
And believing.
I would say almost 95.
Yeah, 95%. Yeah, 95%, even 100, to really get the results that you want to get is believing. And so a lot of the work has been around that. And it's just beautiful to see people shifting, moving maybe from more of like what we'll call a fixed mindset of, oh, I'm just not good at this or that, and just saying, nope, throw that away. Maybe I'm not there yet. And let me learn. Let me step out. Let me be brave. Let me try. Let me get out of this little box that I'm in and see what happens.
Yeah, that's so powerful, right? Because that's a mindset that your clients can take with them forever, right?
Yes.
And that's what's so fruitful for folks who are listening, or if you're watching on YouTube. That's what's so fruitful about having a coach, right? Mm-hmm. Is that this is something you're going to get, that you're going to be able to use in your business, in your life, for the rest of your life, right? Because a lot of times people will talk to me and they kind of are a little negative about investing in themselves, really, because that's really what you're doing when you invest in a coach. A lot of people think they're investing in you, Clarissa, or they're investing in me, but you're investing in yourself, and you're taking that step forward. And people get kind of negative about it and be like, well, why should I pay this much? Why should I do that? And I'm like, well, the things you're learning, they're going to change your life and your business for the rest of your life. Yes. It's not about you tipping and tapping on Kajabi. It's not about all that type of stuff. That stuff is great, but the mindset shift, if you can get one piece of information that changes the way you look at yourself, changes the way you negotiate, changes the way that you accept a yes or a no in your path, that's going to change your life forever. And I can already tell from the results you've given people, that's something that's going to live with them forever. Once you write one book, you can write 100 of them, right?
That's right.
Once you leave one toxic environment, you don't necessarily end up in those spaces again, right? Yes. So the stuff that you're doing is just so powerful. So if folks want to work with you, like, how do they do it? Like, is it a website? How do they kind of connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me. I have a link to just book a coffee chat. If you just want to start there, start easy, get to know each other. And you can always send me a DM on Instagram. Okay, I love being there. So you can always DM me as well.
So folks, we're going to put that into the show notes and also the description here on YouTube. We'll put exactly that link. We'll get it from you, Clarissa, so folks can sign up for that coffee talk or whatever it may be to move this step forward. So I want to pivot a little bit into something a little bit fun, which is our last segment of the show called Boy Talk and Hop. I'm going to give you some statements and you're just going to fill in the blank with whatever comes to mind.
Love it. All right.
All right, let's do it. So my first one for you is love is
everything.
Money is
abundance.
Wellness is
spiritual healing.
If you could speak to anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. And the first person that popped in my head is Pablo Picasso. Because I love his artistry and I just love all the different creativity that he did. And I don't know tons about his life, so I would just love to hear his stories about being an artist back in that time.
My favorite book is?
Ooh, my favorite book. You know what I keep going back to is Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks.
That's a really good one. I haven't read that in a while. I might have to bring that back before the end of the year.
Yeah. Love that one.
Definitely. My favorite food is?
It's gonna be kind of boring. Pizza. I'm never sick of pizza.
My favorite motivational song is?
Oh, favorite song, motivational song. I'm just going to say anything by Lizzo. I love her energy. I love her vibe. And every time I listen to her, I'm automatically in a good mood.
Did you watch her show? I think it's something with the big girls. Did you watch that?
Not yet.
Yes, you've got to check it out. Definitely. Okay. So, and then my next one for you is my favorite thing to do when I travel is?
Oh, my favorite thing to do when I travel is get a little bit lost. So every time I travel, there are certain spots on the street, certain alleys that I just get zoned in on and drawn to. And I just love meandering. I love meandering through wherever I'm at.
Beautiful. And last but never least, Clarissa is?
Oh, Clarissa. I was going to say Clarissa explains it all. Clarissa is limitless.
You sure are, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being willing to share your story. And we can't wait to have you back. We're going to have this conversation again. Yes. I was just telling someone yesterday, I want to do more of like a panel with some entrepreneurs. Yeah. I think that would be a really cool space to kind of talk about how do we prepare for the next few years financially, have that kind of conversation. So I would love to have you back. But thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, Yvonne, this was so much fun. Thanks so much for having me. Hey, you guys, Clarissa here, and I'm born obviously incredible.
Thanks for listening to Boy Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at Boy Meets Wellness. That's boy with an I. Until next time, go be